What is it? Why is it that the chairs next to Matt are empty?
Not anymore.
This is not a good start, you
Sorry. they caught wind of the first hour.
guys. Right, yeah.
Because these are the ones.
He's
in the
flatulent.
Right. So get your upwind seat and let's get started. So a couple of announcements before we start. And Dorothy's, you've got the magical chair that you can't get out of. Wait till you try to get out of it. Cheers.
It's okay. I don't plan on moving.
Okay, good. Let us know if we can bring you anything.
Oh, thank you.
Let's see, Matt. You want to Max? You want to talk about Shakespeare?
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm in the show tonight and tomorrow night with Shakespeare on the Lawn. If any of you know Mary Dryden, who's usually here, she's in it too. She's got one of the leading roles. Yeah, tonight and tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. It's free. It's on Zoom. Go to @Sodal@UVA on Instagram if you want to get the links.
Yay.
Thanks, Darren.
Yeah. Any other? When is Yahweh night?
Tomorrow.
And what is? Tell us, Alice.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Jen, you can chime in. What's the deal?
Yeah, so Yahweh Night is tomorrow, also at 7.
Right, you can go tonight for him.
But it's just a way that a lot of groups that don't get to see the way of worship being presented at UVA now get to worship in that way and bring other people into that as well. And so there's going to be spoken word, praise dancing, singing in different languages, and so it's going to be a really good time. So grab a watch party and
And how do we find? And right, so Shakespeare tonight, Yahweh night tomorrow.
there you go.
And how
Yes.
do we get there? How do we? It's a virtual thing.
Yes, it is virtual. And so on the Instagram, there is a link to the stream.
So Yahweh night, spell it.
YAHWEH, and then night.
All right.
No K.
And you already know, because we've been talking about this, Horizons Fellows and Perkins Fellows applications are open. Jen is going to be a Horizons Fellow. She's our poster child for next year. For the Horizons Fellows, if you're third year, you get paired with a mentor and you get to meet often with them. You go on a retreat with the other fellows. Christy gathers you once a month to read and discuss and just eat and have a wonderful time. A lot of talk about future and vocation and calling. Perkins Fellows applications are also open for any year, and that's a kind of a service and learning, meaning finding, making experience in the community. So I hope you'll. Oh, Malia, are you a Perkins Fellow? Did you apply?
I did, yeah.
You did. I didn't realize that. That's so great. So why did you apply?
I applied because I really wanted to learn more about what it means to serve others as we are called to do, and what it looks like to love your neighbor as yourself in that way, and as well of getting to just interact more with the Charlottesville community that we get to be a part of as teachers, and learning how to incorporate that into our daily lives after we graduate as well.
Exciting. Thank you for that, Alice.
I always love putting Malia on the spot.
And if you're looking for housing, that reminds me, the Perkins House, there's still space. This is a sort of an intentional community very close by. If you're looking for housing, that's open. Yeah, so Matt is the new kid here, so I'd love for y'all to introduce yourselves. So we're going to go around real quickly and in true Essential Partners style in the dialogues. In one breath, say your name and maybe something that's bringing you joy. We talked about joy the last time. Anne, would you be willing to start?
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm Anne. Recently, I'd say friendships have been bringing me joy.
I'm Adela, and definitely outdoors and nature, just spending time outside.
Perfect setting.
Yeah.
I'm Megan, and I would say also just the change of seasons with spring is definitely been bringing me joy.
Okay. Nice meeting you.
I'm Max, and it would bring me joy. Oh, I found out this morning that my little sister has a vaccine appointment. It's making me very
Yay.
Vaccine appointment.
Hooray.
I'm Ben. I only come up here like once or twice a week, so I'm just grateful to be here. It's such a beautiful day. Glad to be outside. No reason not to be happy.
Awesome.
My name's Mitchell, and these potato chips are phenomenal.
Keeping it real. I'm Karen, and I'm torn. I have two things bringing me joy. One is my second vaccine shot today, which my husband and I are going to go together.
Yay.
So romantic. And our son Henry's coming up from Miami to work virtually for a week.
Oh,
so pandemic plus.
Wow. Congrats.
Jen, you get to say again.
I'm Jen. Yeah, just wearing like lots of skirts and dresses has been getting me good.
I'm Dorothy. Nice to meet you, or everybody. I'm really happy to be sitting in this chair. And I'm really happy that I can walk again because my ankle is really badly sprained. Yeah. I'm Malia, and something that's been bringing me joy has been how green all the trees and leaves have been.
My name is Alice. Something bringing me joy. Oh, I got to talk to my family a lot this week. That's really nice.
Hi, I'm Raed. I think something that's been bringing me joy is learning how to cultivate a sense of perspective sometimes, especially as like semesters get crazy towards the end. It's just learning and looking around and things like this, and that a lot of stuff doesn't really matter, the way we might think it does.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matt. I'm just happy and joyful to be here with you, to not be looking at a screen right now, too, and to not be sitting in that chair.
Right. Yeah, good call. You got the arms. That's what you
Yeah,
know
this
you're
is
special.
the
guest.
director's chair.
Well, I brought a few words. We always open with the bell, with the chime. And it always happens that yard work happens on Fridays. I don't know why. We fended off one lawnmower, so we'll see how the rest of it goes. But I'm going to ring the chime and then read this poem, read this prayer, and then we'll just have a couple minutes to settle in silence. Blessed are you, Jesus most holy, dearly beloved, Word become flesh. Blessed are you, Jesus the healer, our brother and friend, giver of peace. Blessed are you, Jesus, Redeemer, Spirit within us, hope of our glory. O God of many names, lover of all peoples, we pray for peace in our hearts and homes, in our nations and our world, the peace of your will, the peace of our need. O God of peace and justice, of holiness and of love, knit us together in mind and flesh, in feeling and in spirit, and make us one, ready for the great day and the fulfillment of all of our hopes, in the glory of Jesus Christ. Keep us in the spirit of joy and simplicity and mercy. Bless us and those you have entrusted to us, in and through Jesus Christ, our Savior. So grateful to Matt for coming out and joining us in the garden today. Somebody's already taken your book. I brought it to show. That was Bailey. Bailey went off with it, but it's called Operating on Faith, A Painfully True Love Story, which is a book that I read and picked up, and I'm like, okay, this Matt Weber guy lives in Charlotte, so I'm going to find him. And then he had a piece in the New York Times last year, and I'm like, yeah, we're definitely going to make him be friends. So he applied and came over, and
What's that?
Like January.
That's right. It was cold, but the blankets.
We've been through already a lot. But he's just here to tell his story, and whatever he wants to share today, he's glad to hear. But he works here at the University of Virginia, senior assistant to President Ryan, and is an author and a comedian and a digital leader. Teaches a course in Bath. He's a doctoral student. Is married to Nell, has two adorable children, so a full life.
Well, thanks. Thanks, Karen. And I will project as necessary. Does that sound okay? Yeah. You're going to have to do some volume editing later. But thanks. This is a joy. And again, Karen, thanks for just having me. It's sometimes hard to make space for things like this in the ephemerality and craziness of our schedules. And yet when you actually do make the time, you're like, gotta do this more, you know? So I'm just so blessed that you're in my life, Karen, and I appreciate all of your kindness and hospitality, introductions, blankets, everything. So Karen had given me, I think, one prompt, which was to bring, you all have been to these before, right? These lunches? To bring some piece of literature, some piece of writing that resonates with me or with these discussions. So I brought something from T.S. Eliot. Any T.S. Eliot scholars here? Okay, good. Because I'm not one either, but I am an appreciator of the work. And so my faith tradition, for purposes of perspective, is I'm a 37-year-old Catholic dad, and my whole life my mother has been repeating a line from T.S. Eliot's Four Quartets, and I wanted to share it with you as something that resonates with me at every stage of my life. And I'm hoping that, like, as you think about the sticky things from this hour, aside from the fingers from the barbecue, I'm hoping it's also a couple ideas from this. So T.S. Eliot is interesting in that he is coming from a Catholic tradition, from a convert, which is why I think he was so prevalent in my life. But the way he described himself as, he's Catholic, cast of mind, of Calvinist heritage, and has a puritanical temperament. He's Anglo-Catholic and someone who is probably best known for his poetry. And before I even get to the line that I would probably say is like the sub-thesis of my life and everything that I've been doing, I bought the book to see kind of like the full spectrum of where it sits within his writing, and I was reading just the first stanza of the first page in this book, and it struck me as something that really resonated with me as someone who's now, 14 months into 12 months into this pandemic. So I thought before we even get into the sort of religious writing side, I wanted just to share what I thought was a really good page and a half on this notion of time. Because there are days where someone says, you want to meet on Wednesday? And I'm like, what is Wednesday? You know, what does any of this mean? Or even right now, not only as the father of a 4 and a 2-year-old, but like with everything being so unstructured, what is the weekend, what is the weekday, and how time has really shifted and changed. And T.S. Eliot in 1943 wrote something that I think is as relevant now as it ever has been. And it says, make sure you're reading with some yard work in the background. So this is actually perfect. Okay. Time present and time past are both perhaps present in time future, and time future contained in time past. If all time is eternally present, all time is unredeemable. What might have been is an abstraction, remaining a perpetual possibility only in a world of speculation. What might have been and what has been point to one end, which is always present. Footfalls echo in the memory down the passage which we do not take, towards the door we never opened, into the rose garden My words echo thus in your mind, but to what purpose? Disturbing the dust on a bowl of rose leaves I do not know. Other echoes inhabit the garden. Shall we follow? Quick, said the bird, find them, round the corner, through the first gate, into our first world. Shall we follow the deception of the thrush? Into our first world. There they were, dignified, invisible. And they, in a formal pattern, along the empty alley into a box circle, to look down into the drained pool. Dry the pool, dry concrete, brown-edged, and the pool was filled with water out of sunlight, and the lotus rose quietly, the surface glittered out of heart of light, and they were behind us, reflected in the pool. Then a cloud passed, and the pool was empty. Go, said the bird, for the leaves were full of children, hidden excitedly, containing laughter. Go, 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 said the bird. Humankind cannot bear very much reality. Time past and time future. What might have been and what has been point to one end, which is always present. And as we think about, what does it mean to be present now? It's different than when I had heard that a year and a half ago, and how we become present. Now I'm regretting throwing the book because I still need to read from it. Excuse me. Yeah, it was good. It was dramatic, right? So I didn't expect to have read that or to share it with you all. But again, just in looking it over, I was like, I have to put that in perspective of all of us dealing with this once in a generation pandemic. If some of that helps you with understanding time, I'm glad I read it, and hopefully you pick something up from it. But if you think about your lives right now, and is everyone in a second, third, first, fourth year zone with fingers? What are y'all? 3, 2. First year? Third. Okay. So you're all at different stages, and I'm sure someone's going to ask you the inevitable question, so what are you going to do after college? What are you going to do this summer? All that stuff. What are you going to do in life? These are perennial, annual questions that will just be asked upon you at every stage of your life, including at me at age 37. So what are you doing down in Charlottesville? What is that? And what's next? And this and that. For me, the best answer to that question is what I'm about to read to you. And this is how my mother framed it for the entirety of my life. So, to Mrs. Weber, Mom, who's watching maybe? Who knows, Yeah, okay, good. Thanks, Mom, for this. And I'll read this to you. And again, my hope is that just some of this plants a seed somewhere inside you. It seems as one becomes older that the past has another pattern and ceases to be a mere sequence or even development. The latter, a partial fallacy encouraged by superficial notions of evolution, which becomes in the popular mind a means of disowning the past. The moments of happiness, not the sense of well-being, fruition, fulfillment, security, or affection, even a very good dinner. But the seldom illumination, and here it is, we had the experience, but missed the meaning. An approach to the meaning restores the experience in a different form. We had the experience, but missed the meaning, and our approach to the meaning restores the experience in a different form. I can throw it now. I'm done. That, to me, has been a credo for a lot of my reflection, a lot of my prayer life, a lot of how I have looked at experiences that I'm either about to participate in or experiences that I've just had and have not really known what to take away from them. And I have to tell you, were any of you at my, I gave a talk over Zoom.
The deeper dialogue?
The deeper dialogues. Were any of you there? Raise your hand. So perhaps to some of you, like that experience that I shared of a health injury, what do you take away from that? Do you say, woe is me? Or do you become a champion of the cause so that you make sure no one else has that experience? Or you try and find as much lemonade from that really sour lemon that you experienced? That was an experience that I tried to find meaning in. I wrote a book about it. But I thought for purposes of where we all are today, I would teach you in a way that I find to learn best in the case study method. You guys ever read case studies before? So it's a story is presented there. It's taught sort of very dynamically as an individual, as a scenario. And at the end of it, you kind of pick and choose what it is that was relevant or what it is that was a learning from it, sort of from experience. So what I'm going to do right now is provide you a living, breathing case study of myself, of my faith journey, and I'm going to give this group a little bit more time than the previous hour to just be like, okay, here was my experience, tangential, sharing anything with it? Is that totally crazy? What do you want to know more about? What have you learned from what I'm about to tell you? So does that sound okay? And the protagonist of the case study is here. In me. So like you can have every question answered. So I think I mentioned my faith tradition is Catholic, and I grew up just about as Catholic as anyone could be outside of someone who grew up in like the Vatican, right? This was like a faith tradition that was shared by my parents who were devout Catholics, and my aunt was a nun. I was born in St. Francis Hospital on the Feast of St. Francis. Like everything that you would expect in terms of stars aligning around this being Catholic. Went to Catholic schools. It was a big, big, big part of my life. My mother worked for the Catholic Church, and my father helped out the Catholic Church in every way he could when he'd come home from work. And for me, it was the bubble that I was in. It was the faith tradition that I enjoyed, and it was pro forma. It was kind of the norm. And I kept thinking about, okay, I went to Catholic schools from K to 12. What do you do at that point? At that critical juncture, you apply to colleges, and I thought, well, let's keep this rodeo going, only applying to Catholic colleges. And I went to the same Catholic college that my mother went to in 1972. And I went to the same Catholic college that my sister had just went to 2 years prior. The Catholic school is so Catholic that the mascot is a priest. No. The Providence Friars, the mascot at the basketball game is a priest. It's a mascot of a priest. It's not an actual priest. It's a kid dressed up as a like scary looking like priest who's supposed to intimidate, the Gators or the Caveman. And I found myself going from kind of like a much more innocent perspective of Catholicism, being in the cradle of my parents and going to church with them and doing it as part of that family unit, to going to church myself and picking out the times I want to go. At Providence College, they had 3 masses on Sunday. They know college students don't wake up before 11, right? Roughly. And they had masses at 4:30 p.m., 7 p.m., and 10:30 p.m. They called it the Last Chance Mass. And the cooler you were at Providence College, the later on mass you would go to. So like the cool kids went to the 10:30. I was a 4:30 guy. But that's okay. I still enjoyed it, and it was a part of my experience. And I found that I just really enjoyed being a college student and being religious and being Catholic. And again, I'll use the frame bubble again. Like at Providence College, it was okay and it was normal to be Catholic because most of the students were, and it was a Catholic school. So then I was like, okay, time to move on from my undergraduate experience. I studied American Studies. I was a film minor. I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to do a bunch of things. And by my senior year, I had applied to 4 totally different things. I was going to do like the professor route at Brown University. I was going to get an MFA from a college out in Loyola Marymount in California and learn filmmaking. I was going to go to Boston College and learn how to be a higher education administrator. And then I was going to be Don Draper from Mad Men and go work on Madison Avenue. Like all 4 of those things I applied to. And I got everything. The Brown doctoral program I was rejected from. So I had 3 pretty good options. They were really different options. And as you all are thinking about your majors and your experiences and your passions and your joys, like, where do you put your eggs? What is the basket that you want to fill in terms of when you pick a career, do you want it to be a vocation? Do you want it to be something that pays the bills? And do you want to do the things that you actually love on the side? Like, figuring that out is really hard. And for me, I hadn't had it figured out by my senior year, and that's why I applied to 3 things that I was really passionate about. And then, like, you know, at 22 years old, you make decisions not really based on all the best reasons. When I was applying to Providence College, I was between that and Fordham University. Fordham, again, a Catholic school. Fordham University, on their local cable channel, showed Yankees games, and at Providence College, it showed the Red Sox. And that was a really stupid factor in why I wanted to go to Providence College, because I'm a big Red Sox fan. Sorry if anyone, is anyone a Yankees fan here? That's okay. Maybe. So it's like at certain ages and at certain points, you make decisions based on details big and small. So I go to Providence College, I do that experience, and I'm at the juncture where I'm now going to decide, well, what am I going to do next? And I go to Boston College because I was given money there. I wanted to be a filmmaker. I wanted to do that. That brought me joy. That was something I was passionate about. I would have had to move to California. I would have had to buy a car. And I think it was a 3-year, $70,000 a year deal. And I got like $14,000 to my name, and I'm thinking about debt, and I'm thinking about Hollywood. And I just was like, you know what? I've been to Boston before. Let me go there. And they were going to put me up for free housing. And the caveat of the free housing was, you get to live in the old Cardinals mansion that was bought out by Boston College called O'Connell House, with one little asterisk: it's possibly haunted. So not only was I getting a free master's degree in a town that I was interested in, but I also got to live in a haunted house. Which again, in my 2 or 3 years there, I didn't see anything that was. I don't know if that's canonically correct to think things are haunted. Anyway, that's for another Facebook Live, folks. So anyway, I'm at Boston College and I'm doing my thing there, and it's fine, and I'm learning about the Jesuits, which is again another flavor of Catholicism. And then I had a quarter life crisis. I thought, what in the world am I doing? I'd been there 3 years. I loved it. The people were great. I was getting the degree. Everything was going okay, and yet in my bones, in my soul, I was like deeply unhappy with what I saw myself becoming. And there was this priest at Boston College who was like the most popular priest there. And he gave this talk to people at BC and said, like, when you're thinking about what you want to do in life, vocation, things, way to spend your life, ask yourself 3 questions for how you want to spend your time. 1, are you good at this work? So don't go into something that you're not good at. That will be kind of probably disappointing. If I became a portrait artist, I would live a very unhappy life. Unless it was considered postmodern. 2, go into a field or do something that there is a need for. So don't go and pick something that people don't want done. So you want to be good at it, you want there to be a need, a growth for it. And he said the 3rd question that every student over his 30 or 40 years have had challenges with is, does this bring you joy? Does the work bring you joy? And to reflect on joy is kind of tricky. Is it different from happiness? Is it fleeting? Is it ephemeral? Is it meaningful? Is it deeper? How do you know what joy is? The previous group, there was a woman named Joy here. We should have asked her. But that was the question that people got stuck on. And that was the question at age 25. This was a priest talking to mostly like 18-year-olds. I was reflecting on as a 25-year-old going, okay, like I am not joy-filled in what I'm doing. I'm experiencing a weird amount of regret, and I'm going to go save this. I'm going to like turn things around. And I'd always thought back to that filmmaker route, and I'd always thought back to just everything I wanted to do. I kind of want to find most joy in bringing people joy. I want to educate, and I want to entertain, and I want to help people, and I wanted to all nicely tie into a bow with something that's meaningful. And I decided after a good deal of reflection and prayer that I did not want to work at Boston College anymore. I did not want to be a higher education administrator. I did not want to work in databases. I did not want to do recruiting for admissions, but I wanted to work on Sesame Street. Like I literally went to Google and asked, can you tell me how to get to Sesame Street? I wanted to work there. It seemed like a cool organization. It was 40 years old. I grew up on this stuff. Did you guys, I never know. I used to think I was kind of cool like a college kid, and now I think probably double a lot of your ages. Like, is Sesame Street, was that a thing? Was that a part of your childhood to some degree? This is the thing that like I was steeped in. It was Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Mr. Rogers is unfortunately gone, but like that would have been my first choice. That guy was amazing. I think he was a Presbyterian minister, and public broadcasting affected the way in which I think people cared about folks for generations. And I thought Sesame Street is where I want to go, and I researched how do you get a job on Sesame Street? And there's two options. One, you can go to New York City, be successful in the stand-up comedy route, and get hired as a comedy writer for Elmo or any of the number of Muppets. Or two, there's a whole division within Sesame Workshop, which is all based on pedagogy, curriculum, education. And the best way to get a job at Sesame Workshop was to go to the Harvard Graduate School of Education and do this program called Technology, Innovation, and Education, a one-year master's degree. For the low price of $50,000. I just finished a graduate degree. I was 25. I didn't want to be the guy walking around going, you want to see my 2 masters? Like, that's not going to be a good look. And yet at the same time, I didn't want to do something that was not fulfilling me. And so I applied to the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and I got in. And to be honest with you, that was really exciting, yet also back to what this is all about from a faith perspective. This was my first non-Catholic school. It was the first school that I had not felt like it was okay to say maybe God bless you or cross yourself and say a little blessing before you went to lunch. It was the first place that I was almost like surprisingly uncomfortable saying that I went to church. This is all in the shadows of the Boston clergy abuse scandal. You guys have seen the movie Spotlight. I mean, this is not so long after that, where being a practicing Catholic or someone who identified as Catholic was not popular. And here I was entering a sort of wilderness where I had always been sort of in a comfortable situation where religiosity was pro forma, and now I was entering the sort of broader, quote-unquote secular world of Harvard and not really sure how to be religious. And that was hard for me, and it took me a good deal of time to figure out how to talk about faith. I don't think I'd come into contact with a great organization like what you all are part of. And I found myself struggling in what should have been the first few months of my Harvard career, like being kind of special. Like I was in a class and I sat next to Ashley Judd. She was like in my class, and I was like, oh, do you guys know who Ashley Judd is? She's like an actress, but she was there getting her master's degree, and I was like, I'm so cool, and this and that, and yet in my core, in my soul, I was like, I'm not being myself, and I'm kind of hiding a part of me that had always been huge. And I essentially just decided to kind of try and turn things around, and I started talking about going to church, and I started saying God bless you, or pausing to say a little blessing before a meal, or not being afraid to bring up religion. And when you are a person who's open to talk about religion, and by the way, there's the old maxim, don't talk about religion and don't talk about politics? What if you do talk about religion? In a way that's not heavy-handed, in a way that's not sort of like trying to convert, but just in a way that's conversational. What does that look like? Well, at Harvard, when you start talking about religion, you are now the Vatican ambassador to Harvard. People will think you know everything about that entire long, storied history of the church, including, so I saw the Da Vinci Code. Accurate, Matt? No. What's up with holy water? All the things around traditions and rituals. The best question I was asked was, Matt, when you play chess, are you overprotective of your bishops? You know, just thinking about like what are people's perceptions. And to be honest with you, some of it was more hostile in terms of how can you be Catholic when the church is X, Y, and Z-ing. And you know what? All good questions that I was also asking myself. And yet at the same time, I didn't know how to facilitate or even broach these conversations. So sure enough, like I made the determination that maybe there's enough people going to work on Sesame Street. Maybe there's enough people doing that work and there's not enough people going and focusing on how do we talk about faith? How do we talk about different faith? Because when I started raising my hand a little bit about being Catholic, everyone seemed to come out of the woodwork. My friend in the program was like, hey, I'm Baha'i. You want to chat about that? I don't know anything about your faith. And it became this richness of conversation, which was actually really special. And something I don't think people either had the confidence to talk about or at least knew what tools they could bring to those conversations. And I essentially changed my whole course of study, built a proposal around making a TV show around how to talk about faith. I pitched that TV show to a local cable network. They accepted it, and I would say for about 10 years, I appeared on a TV show talking about my faith, encouraging others to do the same thing. That TV show was watched by some publishers out in Chicago. They said, hey, by the way, worst book cover ever, right? Like, look at that. That's me. This is the other thing. If you ever write a book, talk to me first. Don't give them rights on cover. Okay? Very bad. And that turned into a whole scope of now I have this thing, this comfortable platform to be open to talking about faith in a way that is humorous, in a way that's light, in a way that I don't think was done before, at least in the circles that I was in. And I had this book to share with people. And the book, the book is full of stories around my faith life. And it ended up being something that, to me, represented how I think conversations around faith could start. Not with the heavy-handed, here is the Catechism of the Catholic Church, or here is what you would read on Wikipedia on the first 2 pages, but like this is a lived faith. This is what it means to be Christian. This is what it means to be Catholic. This is what I think is important in your life. Then you go to Harvard and you kind of forget how to be religious, or you're scared, or you don't know how to talk about it. Where's the meaning in just taking anything that you're doing and trying to realize, okay, my experiences in that could just pass on, and you can go from experience to experience to experience. And for me, doing your best, and I hope that that's what we're doing today for this hour, is pausing and trying to find those meanings. So just to finish out this story, write this book. I almost died. Some of you were on that democracy or the Zoom call. I had a very bad health issue where my stomach literally burst and they had to staple me up and remove part of my body, and I lost like 45 pounds in a week, and it was like the worst thing. And I was like, wait a second, there's a plan for this. That sucked. My wife was great to me. I learned a lot. Let me find some more meaning. So I went back to my publishers and I was like, listen, I know a lot of people go through trauma and tragedies far worse than mine, and if there's a way that I can maybe help people get through those, can I write a 35,000 word thank you note to my wife? And that was this book. And being at Harvard that whole time, just to finish what brought me into this chair, I continued on working for Harvard, doing their video, their podcasting, their digital strategy, their social, a law school, faculty member from the University of Virginia came to become the dean at Harvard. Jim Ryan, met him, bonded for 6 years, and then about 3 years ago, he convinced me and my wife to come down here and to help tell stories of UVA and to find meaning in the experiences that we're all sharing. That is the case study I bring before you. There are not so many minutes left, but I will say, like, I use this as a metaphor, but it's true. Like, I'm a total open book about this, and if anything that what you heard today, you want to talk more about, I'm in Madison Hall. I don't think I'm being fired anytime soon, but if I am, like, I can still talk to you over Zoom from Massachusetts when I get booted out of Charlottesville. But, like, I'm here as someone who's raised my hand to be like, you know what? I'm a proud person of faith at the University of Virginia too, and it's nice to meet you all. So there's 2 minutes left. I in my brain it was like going to be a lot more. So I hope that's okay.
Take a few questions now?
Of course. Who's got one? Rapid fire. Oh yes, sure. Aren't you a fellow or something?
Yes, we will be.
Perkins?
You kept saying that your mother kind of like kept referencing like C.S. Eliot. Like what was you like mentioned one of the lines, but like what was another one that she kind of kept saying?
That was her big one. I mean, yeah, I don't know if she's read this whole book, but the big thing that she just kept saying is, Matt, you have the experience, make sure to find the meaning in the experience. And that's not all that different from if you're given lemons, make some lemonade. There's a lot of riffs on this. And I think it applies so much to this past year. Like, you came to college, you're all wearing masks right now. You've been on Zoom, well, yeah. I mean, you all have masks. I mean, like, we're outside that, like, in general, who thought this was going to be your first, second, or third year at UVA? No one. Who thought this was going to be my year at home, or Karen was doing these things, and, like, all the different varieties. Pull something good from it, because if you don't, you either miss the good or you can get bitter. And it's easy to get bitter. And by the way, you should be a little bit bitter. This sucks. This has not been fun. But hopefully we're on we're on the corner here, and just try and find something good that came from it. Beyond the pandemic, any situation, good or bad, just look for why it happened and find a space where that works. For me, it was in writing, but maybe for you, it's in prayer, or it's in your swim or your bike or your run, what you think about, in poetry or in music. Find a space for that.
Let's have one more question or comment if you have one, Bernie.
Was this a worthwhile hour, even if you weren't given free food? ?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, anyway, just count me as a friend. And if, again, like, if you want to complain about something too, like, I'm happy to receive those complaints. I'm getting them a lot lately through the president's office. So if there's something that is, like, not cool in your world, like, write to me. I don't know if I'll be able to solve it, but I will definitely listen. Or help you out. And I did shave for this thing. I had a weird beard. It was patchy. It did not look good. And I used to have really long hair. I don't know if it was on the Zoom. Yeah, I kind of looked totally different. I was like, I better step it up. These are also my best socks too. So anyway, I'm letting you know I'm bringing my best self.
Well, thank you for
Thanks, Kate.
the upgrade.
Oh yeah, right.
Well, really, it's so beautiful to sort of, because we're all in this community together,
Yeah.
to make this connection, to hear your story.
Yeah, thanks.
Gives us all, just the courage and the inspiration to, be who we are for one another.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. Yeah, I don't know if it's hard to be an undergrad and a person of faith at UVA, because I don't share that experience. I'm assuming it's mixed, but I guess if you find your communities, it's fine. It's different in Virginia than in Massachusetts, so I'm hoping you all are having good experiences. And if not, happy to talk.
Well, let's close with the blessing, but
May the Lord Christ
the wilderness and protect you through the storm. May he bring you home rejoicing at the wonders he has shown you. May he bring you home rejoicing once again to our door.